I can say what? I can say my computer dot, and now I can only access the property, which is actually computer name, right? This is the property that actually starts with capital C. Assignment operator, and here I can say, I can put two quotes here, and now I can say, for example, the computer name is iPhone, right? iPhone 5S. And then I put a semicolon at the end of my statement. And now I can print this value to the console. I can say console dot write line, and I put a pair of parentheses, and inside the parentheses I just need to refer to the name of this instance, my computer, and then I can say dot computer name, semicolon. So as you can see, in this way we are actually setting a value to this computer name, and in this way, by just using this dot notation, we are accessing the value of this property. So if I run my application now, just hold down the control key on your keyboard and then press on F5 key. So now in the console it says iPhone 5S without using the setter method or the getter method. By just using this property computer name, in this way we are actually setting a value to this property, and in this way we are actually getting a value from this property. So these values are the values of the actually instance variable. So let me actually put a breakpoint here. Let me just here inside this left gray bar in line number 15, right? Just put this little circle here, this breakpoint. And now as you can see that this line of code is now highlighted, and this means that our application is going to stop in this line of code so that we can actually control the flow of the application, the flow of the program. So at the top we can just click on this start. Let's wait a little bit here. So now it's gonna go into the actually debugging mode. So if you don't have these autos open, you can actually at the top just click on debug, Windows, and then click on autos. So now let's actually look at this autos area. Here we have these args, we have this computer instance that is going to be created, and as you can see the value is null. This means that this object is not yet created. It is about to be created. So let's actually create it by just click on this step over button at the top. And now this object is now created. This instance, my computer, is now created. And if I open it, you can see that we have actually created this my computer instance. But you can see that the computer name property and the computer name instance variable is null. You can see this value here is null. And here it is going to actually execute the line number 19. It's going to actually assign a value to this property computer name. So now let's step into the computer name property. So in order to step into the computer name property, we cannot actually just use this step into button here at the top. We are going to actually select this computer name property, right click on it, and here just hover over this option. It says step into specific, and now it's going to just only show you this option, properties in C#. So this is the namespace, and then it's going to access the computer class here. So now it's going to access the computer name dot set. So this is the name of our actually namespace, the computer class, and then it's going to access this property computer name, and it's going to access the setter, right? Why it's going to access the setter? Because we are assigning this value to this property. So this means that we want to access that set block, not that get block. Why? Because we are assigning this value to this property. So if I actually click on this computer name again, right click on it, and then just hover over this option, it says step into specific, and then click on this option here. Now it's gonna guide you to this computer class, and now we can see that this set block is now highlighted here. These curly braces are now highlighted, and this means that it's about to execute this set block. So let's actually click on this step over in order to execute this this set block. And here you can see in the autos area at the bottom that the computer name instance variable is still null. And you can see this here that refers to an instance of type computer class. Let's actually open this here. So you can see that the computer name property is still null, and the computer name instance variable is still null. Look at this value, and it says, okay, the value is iPhone 5S. So remember what I told you about the value parameter that we get from this set block, from this set method. We get this value as a parameter from this set method. So now the value is iPhone 5s. So now it is about to execute this specific line of code here in line number 25, right? You can see that this arrow is actually pointing to this line of code here. If I actually click on this step over here at the top, now this line of code here is actually executed. So let's look at the autos area here. At the bottom, you can see that now the computer name instance variable is actually iPhone 5s. So look at this here. This computer name property is actually iPhone 5s. The computer name instance variable is iPhone 5s, and the value is iPhone 5s. So let's click on this step over here again in order to go back to the main class. And now let's click on this step over in order to actually execute this line of code here in order to output this value to the console. So now in the console, in the autos area, you can see that the value of the computer name property is iPhone 5s. So now it is about to execute the get block of this computer name property. So if I actually right click on this property and then just hover over this step into specific, and now we can see that it's gonna only show you this get block. It's gonna actually only allow you to be guided to this get block of the computer class of this property computer name. So properties in C# namespace computer class computer name.get. So let's click on it, and now as you can see, the get block is actually highlighted. This curly braces of this get block is highlighted. So let's click on this step over here at the top in order to execute it. So now it's about to execute this line of code here. Let's click on it again, step over, and now it executed this line of code. In the autos area, we can see that still this value is actually the same, computer name iPhone 5s. So now let's click on this, let's click on this step over again. And finally, let's click on it again in order to execute this line of code. And now it's done. Let me show you this console area. And now we can see this value, iPhone 5s. And here, finally, if I actually click on this step over again, it's gonna end executing this main method. And now it's back to